Good morning, friends. Today we are going to learn the next part of our syllabus, that is Indian cinema, history of Indian cinema, unit number first part, third golden age. In the previous lecture, we learned about the uh, period of 1930s to 1940s, which is called as the talkies, and the challenges and expansion in that period. And now we are going to learn about the golden age, the period from late 1940s to 1960s. See, the period from the late 1940s to the early 1960s, that is after India's independence, is regarded by film historians as the golden age of Hindi cinema. Some of the most critically acclaimed Hindi films of all time were produced during this time. Examples include Pyasa, which was released in 1957, and Kagaz Ke Phool, 1959, directed by Gurudutt and written by Abrar Alvi Awara. Abrar Alvi Awara, 1951, and Shri 420, directed by Raj Kapoor and written by Khwaja Ahmad Abbas and An. The film, directed by Mehboob Khan and starring Dilip Kumar, the films explored social themes primarily dealing with working class life in India, particularly urban life. In the first two examples, that is, Avara presented the city as both nightmare and dream, and Pyasa critiqued the unreality of urban life. Here we are going to learn the example of the movie Pyasa and Sri 420, how they presented the urban life, and talks about the frustration due to the urban life and the people of working class people working class, and their life particularly is depicted in this particular both the movies. The movie Pyasa is about an classical 1957 Indian Hindi language romantic drama film directed and produced by Gurudutt, co-starring himself alongside Mala Sinha, Vaida Rehman, and Johnny Walker. It focuses on the disillusioned poet Vijay, whose works are underestimated by publishers and banned for writing on social issues rather than romantic topics. The film follows his encounters with the golden hearted prostitute Gulabo, that is the role played by Vaida Rehman, and his former girlfriend Meena, which is how the former helps him to get his poetry published, the success of his works, and his romantic relationship with Gulabo. The role of Vijay was initially offered to Dilip Kumar, which he declined owing to the impact of doing intense films on his health. Later, in an interview, he also said that he found the character of Vijay in Pyasa similar to that of Devdas. Gurudutt latter accepted the role himself, and the film went on to become one of the most commercially successful movies of the year. Pyasa is a classic and is considered one of the best films of Indian cinema. It was remade into Telugu film Malpu. Vijay is an unsuccessful idealistic poet whose works are not taken seriously by publishers. They condemn Vijay for writing on social problems such as unemployment and poverty rather than those on conventional romantic topics. His brothers also dislike his occupation, trying to sell his poems as waste paper. Unable to bear their taunting, he stays away from home, and beside that, find the poems his brothers had sold. Around this time, Vijay encounters a prostitute named Gulabo, who buys and is enamored with his works and consequently fall for him and his former girlfriend Meena. He finds out that he latter has married the publisher Ghosh due to financial security. Ghosh hires him as a servant to find out more about him and Meena, a dead beggar to whom Vijay gave his coat and whom he tries to save unsuccessfully from the path of a running train is a mistaken for Vijay. Gulabo goes to Ghosh and gets his poems published. Ghosh does so feeling he can exploit the poems and make a killing. The poems are very successful. However, Vijay is alive and in the hospital after the train mishap. Ghosh and Sham, Vijay's close friend, refuse to recognize him and he is committed to a mental asylum since he insists that he is Vijay and is thought to be mad. Vijay's brother too are bought off by Ghosh not to recognize him and a memorial is held for the dead poet. Vijay, with the help of his friend Abdul Sattar, escapes from the mental asylum and reaches the memorial service where he denounces this corrupt and materialistic world. Seeing that Vijay is alive, his friend and brother side with the rival publisher for more money and declare that this is Vijay. At a function to honor him, Vijay becomes sick of all the hypocrisy in the world around him and declares he is not Vijay. He then leaves with Gulabo to start a new life. So, in this way, we can understand how there is a presentation of the urban life and the reality of the life of urban life. So the character of Vijay represents the character who is very talented but can't uh, establish himself as a great poet in this particular situation due to the society and due to his family members. One of the next example is about Sri 420 that is released in 1955 Indian Hindi language comedy drama film directed and produced by Raj Kapoor from a story written by Khwaja Ahmad Abbas. The film stars Nargis, Nadira, and Kapoor. The number 420 refers to Section 420 of the Indian Penal Code, which prescribes the punishment for the offense of fraud. Hence, Mr. 420 is a derogatory term for fraud. The film centers on Raj Kapoor, a poor but educated orphan who comes to Bombay with dreams of success. Kapoor's character is influenced by Charlie Chaplin's Little Tramp. Much Little Kapoor's character in his 1951 Avara. The music was composed by the team of Shankar Jaikishan and lyrics were penned by Shailendra and Hasrat Jaipuri. So it is the highest grossing Indian film which is shows a country boy from Allahabad travels to a big city, Bombay, by walking to earn a living. He falls in love with a poor but virtuous Vidya, that is Nargis, but is soon seduced by the riches of a freewheeling and unethical lifestyle presented to him by an unscrupulous and dishonest businessman. Said Sonachand Dharamanand and the sultry temptress Maya, he eventually becomes a confident tricker of 420 who even cheats in card gambling. Vidya tries hard to make Raj a good man but fails. Meanwhile, Sonachand comes up with a Ponzi scheme to exploit poor people whereby he promises permanent homes to them just rupees 100. The scheme pays off as people start holding money for a home even at the cost of other important things. Vidya's contempt for Raj increases even more. Raj becomes wealthy but soon realizes that he paid a very high price for it. When Raj discovers that Sonachand has no plans to fulfill his promises, he decides to make wrongs right. Raj takes all the bond papers of the people's homes and tries to flee Sonachand's home, only to be caught by Sonachand and his cronies. In a scuffle that occurs, Sonachand shoots Raj and he falls unconscious. When people hear the shooting, They come and see Raj nearly dead. Sona Chand tells police that Raj was trying to flee after stealing money from his safe. Hence, Sona Chand shot him. Upon this, the dead Raj springs back to life and, using pure logic, proves Sona Chand's guilt. Sona Chand and his partners are arrested, while Vidya happily forgives Raj. The film ends with Raj saying, "ये 420 नहीं, श्री 420 है." These are not simply con men, they are respectable con men. So, here we can understand how the uh, world of fraud and the poor people and poor life of Raj is shown in that movie. The next example we can take about the method acting and the example of Mother India. If we think about method acting, which is a term used known formally, informally as a method, is a range of training and rehearsal techniques as formulated by a number of different theatre practitioners that seek to encourage sincere and expressive performance through identifying with, understanding, and experiencing a character's inner motivation and emotions. These techniques are built by Stanislavski system developed by the Russian actor and directed Konstantin Stanislavski and captured in his book. An actor prepares building a character and creating a role. Among those who have contributed to the development of the method, three teachers are associated with having set the standard of its success, each emphasizing different aspects of this approach. Les Streckberg, the psychological aspects, Stella Adler, the sociological aspect, and Sanford Menser, the behavioral aspects. The approach was first developed when they were worked together at the Group Theatre in New York and later at the Actor Studio. So, this is about the method acting and it is developed and used throughout the world and India also. Next example is about the social realist film. One of the best film about the social realist films, that is the Mother India, which talks about the social reality in the society, which is released the film in 1957, and as it is an epic drama film directed by Mehboob Khan and starring Rajkumar, Rajendra Kumar, and Sunil Dutt, a remake of Khan's earlier film Aurat. It is a story of a poverty-stricken village woman named Radha who, in the absence of her husband, struggles to raise her sons and survive against a cunning moneylender amidst many troubles. So, it is about the movie which created the social reality and how the situation of the moneylender at that time in the villages is presented in that movie. That so this is one of the best example of the social realist film when we think about how the film is among the most expensive Hindi cinema Bollywood productions and earned the highest revenue for any Indian film at that time. Adjusted to inflation, Mother India still ranks among the all-time Indian box office hits. It was released in India and fanfare in October 1957 and had several high-profile screenings, including one at the capital, New Delhi, attended by the country's president and prime minister. Mother India became a definitive culture classic and is regarded as one of the best films in Indian cinema. So, the film opens in the year 1957, the present day at the time of filming, when construction of an irrigation canal or to the village is completed. Radha, considered to be the mother of the village, is asked to inaugurate the canal. She remembers her past when she was newly married. The wedding between Radha and Shamu is paid for by Radha's mother-in-law, who borrows the money from the moneylenders Kanhaiyalal. The conditions of the loan are disputed, but the village elders decide in favor of the moneylender, after which Shamu and Radha are forced to pay three quarters of their crop as interest on the loan of rupees 500. So, in this way, there is a movie goes and the turns around that particular money which is a debt taken by the money lender, and how the throughout her life till the old age she struggled for the paying that debts. So here we can understand how she is uh, presented the system of the society in the village. So in this way, there are many films released in the period of this golden age and which created the social realism films. That's why it is called as a golden age. So here we end for today. In the next lecture, we learn about the classic Hindi cinema, which is a period of 1970s to 1980s.